Alright, welcome to the updated 14.4 champion tier list. In this one, I'm going to be breaking down every role now that we are midway through 14.4. So, make sure to let us know where you agree or disagree, and let us know what insanely OP champs we are sleeping on in this patch. Let's begin. In top lane, the projected OP champions in Aatrox and Renekton managed to hit the mark, showing up with higher win rates and more presence in both high elo and mid-range elos. The main thing that we missed in last week's tier list, with the Renekton changes in particular, was the unforeseen, overpowered build path that has recently taken root, with Renekton becoming a very strong flat lethality champion. He has found interesting and destructive ways to abuse the Profaned Hydra to play very fast burst combos with a full WMAX build setup. Renekton's are also finding success with 3 points into WMAX. As for another champ we covered last week, Volibear has not seen a significant change in either win rate or play rate, but we still believe the champion is strong. He just hasn't quite had the impact in the meta that we had expected in the wake of 14.4. A champ that was able to show up with crazy prominence in the past week was actually AD Twisted Fate in the top lane, going for a strong crit build similar to that of top lane Akshan. If played by someone who knows their way around this champ, TF top with fleet footwork, ghost, and flash has very little counterplay and a highly non-interactive lane similar to that of Teemo. This is extremely unfun to play into, so if you're looking to ruin someone's day in the top lane, then AD Twisted Fate might be your guy. Next up, if you haven't already signed up to GameLoop.com, then the time is now. We have hundreds and hundreds of LoL guides authored by professional coaches and challenger players, covering every element of League, from all 5 champion roles, lane, micro, and macro decision making. Sign up below right now by clicking the link at the top of the description box to jumpstart your path to challenger. And with that said, back to the tier list. And alright, reflecting back on last week's speculative 14.4 tier list, mid laners landed have about as we expected as well, with Ahri even exceeding expectations. Mages, in fact, seem to be hard winning with the changes on this patch, and many of the skirmishing AD mid laners in Yone and Yasuo are performing even worse than initially expected. The combination of buffs and itemization has boosted mages, and especially battle mages, into a very dominant state. Not to say that you can't win with the likes of Yone, but the man's win rate has crept down to about 48% as of 14.4. 2 champions we would like to highlight in the mid lane on this patch, and these are 2 picks that we seem to have missed last week, are Neeko and Taliyah. Both of these mages excel greatly at teamfighting and have a proven knack for winning any and all skirmishes that break out nearby mid lane, in the jungle, and bot river. They have surprisingly oppressive laning phases, which allows for a clear way to capitalize on leads, allowing for anybody at any skill level to master these champions and climb almost purely from early advantages. We highly suggest those who enjoy playing these teamfighting mid laners focus on these champs for the foreseeable future and hone your skills to dominate the Rift. Next, for a trip to the bot lane. The main miss from our original tier list was the impact of the Kalista nerfs. Kalista was nerfed in her scaling, but her win rate was actually barely touched by the changes, and she is still a dominant champ in this patch. The other miss was the rise of Twisted Fate ADC. Similar to top, he is an unstoppable form in 14.4, taking out many of the meta ADCs in lane, while also being able to scale comfortably. So, whether you are a top lane or ADC, TF seems to be a pick worth mastering in the current meta. A champion that is seeing a rise in all skill brackets is Miss Fortune. MF has a very strong lane phase thanks to short burst trades with Auto Q Auto, which instantly procs your preferred rune of Press the Attack. Many champions are struggling to handle her early game, especially if you slot in strong early lethality items like Collector and Ghostblade. And if you're after more scaling, you can go the crit setup that pro player Doctum is forcing in both competitive and in solo queue, going Kraken Slayer, Infinity Edge into Phantom Dancer and Lord Dominix. MF is surely a champion that you should keep both eyes on. In the jungle, most of the champion changes we covered in the original 14.4 tier list hit the expected mark and were showing up to be pretty accurate. Every champ highlighted saw an increase in play rate and win rate in all skill brackets. The only thing that is a bit unfortunate is that the changes to Rek'Sai landed her in a much weaker spot due to a rise in attack cancelling bugs, which makes her almost unplayable in the current state of the game. Jungle as a role has felt progressively weaker, and carry champions are dropping down more and more each patch in strength and viability, which does make it very sad for the jungle role as a whole right now. The premier junglers of 14.4 are all very early game centered fighters that focus on winning skirmishes skirmishes and getting their team ahead over playing selfish. With that, we should add to the broken champs list Lee Sin, Volibear, and Xin Zhao, even if some of those picks don't quite make the grade for S tier. Another note about jungle, oh yes, Rengar stays at the S tier, but we are deaf. A ton of y'all were confused as hell in the last tier list, and fair enough, we've given basically no effort to explain Rengar's placement. So, we're going to rectify that here and now, and please keep us in our toes and share your thoughts below. To start, let's talk about items. With the introduction of Profane Hydra, it gives Rengar his auto reset back with the Tiamat active alongside the Cleave passive to help Rengar clear the Raptor camp, mini Krugs, and even small grubs. This dramatically increases his clear time, allowing him more opportunities to invade with his strong early game dueling prowess. Pair that alongside other lethality items such as Opportunity and Hubris, and for us, this champion enters the upper tiers just through itemization alone. Rengar's kit also nullifies many other high tier junglers such as Vi, Kindred, Ivern, and Brand. Rengar's W ability allows him to escape CC, such as Vi's ult, and his early game skirmish power means Kindred, Brand, and Ivern have little choice but to surrender parts of their jungle when invaded by Rengar. Now to touch on Briar, who currently languishes in the C tier. Briar's strength upon release was purely based on the fact that she was able to go both Bruiser or Lethality, and both of these builds for her have taken major hits. The Bruiser build has been taken down a peg because Goredrinker has been removed from the game. The ability to dive into multiple targets and heal over half of your health back from one item click was insane, and it allowed Briar to take crazy extended fights. While Divine Sunderer got replaced by Sundered Sky, sadly there was no replacement for Goredrinker. As for her lethality build, Profane Hydra technically enables this build, but with the tank meta being as strong as it is, lethality Briar struggles hard to cut through them. While Briar does belong in C tier, she's definitely not D or F, which means if you do truly like playing Briar, then you can still climb. Just be sure to pick her mostly strategically into squishy enemies. And lastly, for support, we see very little changes from our speculative tier list rankings, with each highlighted champion reaching higher strides in both pick rate and win rate. But I would like to highlight a newcomer to the stronger champions of the patch, in Janna. Janna has risen recently in all elos with a highly oppressive rune and build setup reminiscent of Season 9 Janna. Janna got changes a few patches ago which allowed her to be less reliant on chaining abilities for more shields, instead giving her stronger stats on her W and adding back a lot of damage to her kit. Now Janna's in multiple elo ranges are going back to the W max setups with Comet, abusing the Zaxax Realm Spike item as well as Mandate to be early to mid-game damage threats to rival other mage supports. This oppressive style allows Janna to rise up significantly in priority. Now to address the Morgana issue. We slammed Morgana into D tier and y'all disagreed hard last week as well, but let me explain. You know what, if you still disagree, after you get done sharpening your pitchforks, don't come after me. I'm just the man who reads the script, okay? So, Morgana actually belongs in F tier. No, I'm just kidding, man. For real, Morgana must be one of the most outdated champions in the entire roster of League of Legends. Her Q missile speed is super slow, where most decent players can just dodge out of the way. Morgana's W does way too little damage, and as a support, you're maxing out Q first and then E, which means your W damage will be at base 6 damage per tick. This W ability is just way too outdated, and it's really up to Riot to jump on that. Morgana's E is something of a saving grace, being super reliable compared to the rest of her kit, but even still, the mana cost is pretty steep, and the E's cooldown sits at 26 seconds at base, meaning a ton of downtime. It also only blocks CC and magic damage, while most ADCs are pumping and harassing with physical. And as if all of this wasn't depressing enough, after the removal of Stopwatch, Morgana now needs 1600 gold to get an early Zhonya's. For us, Morgana should be at the top of Riot's rework list. The woman deserves better than her decades-old kit. But hey, if you're destroying games with Morgana, then don't let a YouTube video get you down. And that is all for this happy little tier list video updated for the first week of 14.4. Let us know what broken champs we failed to recognize down below. While you're at it, hit the link at the top of the description box below to sign up to GameLoop.com now to get access to hundreds of challenger guides to skyrocket your rank in patch 14.4 and beyond. For now, I want to thank you all for watching. Do enjoy the rest of your day. We'll see all of you guys in the next one.